What's going on, everybody? Welcome to IndieQuest, the celebration of the indie and obscure. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and I'm joined by one of my awesome co-hosts, Seth, aka the captain himself, Captain Drachma. I just did a little switcheroo on you guys. How's it going?
I typically take roughly a 20-second nap during that portion of this podcast, but I was awoken to hear my name this time. I'm doing good. Last episode, we lost Steve briefly. I said your name, Steve, so you have to wake up from your nap.
Sorry.
This is going to
had so much free time at the beginning of the episode.
I am hoping that we don't lose me today, but it is thunderstorming outside, so we will see how that goes.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Well, I'm also joined by Steve. How's it going?
Good, although I am starting to think that IndieQuest is cursed, because, literally during the last recording, my power went out on a beautiful, sunny day, no storms in sight. And then here, just a short while before we start recording, my kiddo falls and slices his head open, so I'm off to the urgency room to get him a staple. He's got a staple in his head now. So I would just like to calmly and relaxedly talk about indie games, but that does not seem like it's in the cards these days. So we're making do.
Oh, well, let's hope for the best. I think it's going to be good. It usually is. It soothes the soul to talk about some indies. So anyway, we're joined by a special guest today, Rusty from YouTube channel RE-LOOIE and the Otaku Brothers podcast. How are you?
Doing wonderful, gentlemen. It's thrilled to be back on the show. I feel like I did do a quick look-see to figure out when did we last record a podcast together. I believe it was April of 2021, so several years back. I think quite a bit has changed. Seth, of course, a new co-host of the show. Josh moved out of Texas, and Steve and I are just a couple of middle-aged balding dads at this point. So it's new world. It's a new world, but video games are still great. Really excited to talk about some good indie games tonight.
Yeah. Episode 15 is when you came on, Rusty, which is wild because we are now approaching episode 150. So we got a whole extra digit there.
Yep. It's been a while. Well, why don't you plug some stuff you do on the internet, let people know what you do, your YouTube channel and things like that. Where can they find you and stuff? Just here to kind of get a feel for it.
Yeah, certainly. So, started my YouTube channel way back in the day. Some folks that listen to this show might remember or know RE-LOOIE 2011. I don't have a single bone in my body that's creative. So you have to know that when I labeled that channel back in the day, it was really just so I could comment on Happy Console Gamer and Pete Tor's YouTube channel. But we eventually rebranded. It was actually when my daughter was born a couple years ago. The podcast that I was doing at the time with my brother-in-law, Otaku Brothers, we were kind of simmering down a little bit, slowing down the pace of the show, and I kind of needed an outlet to continue to talk about games. So I kind of rebooted the YouTube channel a little bit, RE-LOOIE, kind of a take on Banjo-Kazooie while still staying close to the roots of the old school name, which was really just kind of a take on my name itself. Cover a variety of topics on the channel. 3D platformers are probably my favorite genre, so gotta talk about some collectathon 3D platformers quite a bit on the channel. I love doing retrospective, kind of reflective look backs at some of my favorite series. Over the past few years, I've done one for Hot Shots Golf, the Hot Shots Golf series, Ukulele. I recently did one for Assassin's Creed. And Steve was one of the main inspirations for me starting to talk about PlayStation trophy collecting on the YouTube channel. I did not know there was such an appetite for that on YouTube, but it's been a lot of fun to kind of comb through my trophy list on YouTube and talk about platinums and all that good stuff. So cover a variety of things, but that's kind of my main focus on the channel for sure.
Yeah, and we won't distract people here with trophy talk because I sneak a little bit into every episode, but I try to keep it light. But our trophy history goes a long ways back, and I would say that, you say I inspired you to talk about it on the channel, but you probably, through trophy hunting competition with me, inspired me to even really kick off the channel. So we're kind of both to blame for each other's addiction that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing we do like to do, we bring people onto the show, and this has never happened. We had you on the show on episode 15. So the thing we do now, it's kind of a tradition. We bring a new guest, quote unquote. You're obviously not a new guest, but you're new to this question. It's the big question. What's your favorite indie game of all time?
Wow, that's That's tough, and I'm probably not going to name the right one, so someone's going to have to keep me honest that knows my gaming history better than I do. The one that comes to mind immediately, though, is one that came out a couple years ago, and it just really took me back to why I love 3D platformers, the sense of exploration, collecting things, curiosity kind of being your guide, and just a giant open environment and just tons of things to collect. And that was Tinkykin, a game that you guys already brought to the show as a main quest. It wasn't my game of the year that year, but it was certainly close. I just love how just the colorful, charming nature of it all. There was no combat. It really was just a focus on, hey, here's this massive world. You're playing as this little cute character, Milo, and also kind of the interesting take on blending platforming with Pikmin mechanics, because you use these guys to kind of navigate the world. So wonderful game. I've played through it beginning to end multiple times, Xbox, Switch, and of course PlayStation, but that's got to be top on the list, if not top 3.
It's a fantastic choice. Would you say, I got a question for you and a question for the boys. Would you say you picked Tinkykin over Yooka-Laylee? And to my fellas, is Yooka-Laylee an indie game? Does that count? It's we're sitting right on the border with this one, I feel like. It's crowdfunded, but it's former AAA devs, but like it's got way more of an indie feel to it, relatively small team size, but also larger than most indie studios. So I don't know. At the very least, I feel like it's in Expedition 33 territory where you can bicker about it.
Yeah, I would err on the side of it's more indie than not. Playtonic Studios, especially some of the games that they've come out since Yooka-Laylee. But definitely, I think I'd put Tinkykin over Yooka-Laylee. Now, Yuka Replay Lee, that's maybe a different story because the remake that they did for it is much more polished. It runs buttery smooth, and the platforming is much better than it was in the original game. But I think Yooka-Laylee is the heart pick. But if I'm picking with the head, it's got to be Tinkykin.
I can respect that for sure. For sure.
Oh, that's such a big.
I would also say that Yooka-Laylee is an indie game.
Yeah, I agree. It's indie.
So
Fight me about it.
I wouldn't even think twice if somebody brought it, to be honest. I was like,
there's a lot of games like that where in everyday conversation out in the world with friends or at work with coworkers or something, I don't think twice about it at all. But then when I'm about to speak it on this show, which like carries a certain heft to the decision, is it indie or not? Suddenly I get in my own head and I'm like, does this count? Or are there extenuating circumstances? Am I stretching the rules to bring a game in that I like? It gets scary. It gets tough.
I made the mistake on my channel, I don't know, this is probably like 6 months ago to a year ago. I was talking about Concrete Genie, and I labeled it indie. And there were several people in the comments that quickly corrected me that, no, Rusty, this is like PlayStation first party. How dare you? And I'm like, okay, sorry. It has the feel, the vibe, the energy of an indie game. Sue me, all right?
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of a Dave the Diver thing or something. It's tricky when these big AAA studios carve off a small team and create a game with indie energy. It's easy to get distracted or not pay attention. So,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. Well, we can jump into the show proper here. Let's do it. So the thing we do on this show is we bring games to our ever-growing list of the indie games called the Quest Log. You can find the Quest Log at IndieQuestPod.com. It's the Google Doc that grows forever, and it has 2 segments to it. The main quest, which is a game that's an easy recommendation for anybody, an incredible experience. It's a certified banger. It's at 10 out of 10. It's a game you can't really nitpick because it's just awesome and everybody should check it out, including your mom, your dad, and your pet iguana. I had to get that in there somehow. We also have a side quest, which is still a recommendation. Might have a caveat or two. Might be a little bit niche or be like an 8 out of 10, but hey, this game's still awesome and you should put it on your backlog. So, who wants to go first today? Between us 3, I guess, and then we let Rusty kind of tuck in the middle there. We'll get a little Rusty sandwich going.
Love it.
I'll do it.
Go.
I'm reading a bunch of poker faces here. I'm reading Seth. I'm he seems like he's putting a little pause in there. He wants me to go first. All right.
It's always the Office meme with the finger guns, right? Who's next? Who's next?
The Spider-Man meme. Yeah, I know. Every single time. Yeah, I will absolutely go first, but I don't want to steal anybody else's spotlight if you guys want to go.
Go.
You're the
Do it.
captain.
Yeah, man. You are the captain.
Take it on.
All right.
Yeah.
I am. All right, I'll steer the ship. Okay, so I played a game for IndieQuest
Oh, me too.
for the
Same.
the early August or mid-August episode of IndieQuest. And we are in August. So we're starting to go down that road
Yep.
of needing to play 2026 games, even though I think we've all kind of been doing that a little bit. But I've got a list of purchased games, and I've got a list of wish-listed games that have already released, and it's deep, and it's getting only deeper by the day. So I'm starting to check some stuff off. So I played a game called One Turn Kill.
Ah, yes.
I
Popular 2026 game that's on everyone's priority list. One Turn Kill.
I cannot wait, Steve, for you to look at the Steam page, because you will think of yourself a buffoon.
Joke's on you. I already think myself a buffoon, but I'm always happy to reinforce it. Wow. Okay. Pretty popular game. Overwhelmingly positive.
I know. 1,000 reviews on Steam. I know. I'm not doing the typical 13 reviews. Only me and 7 cousins have heard of it. So, One Turn Kill came out this year on January 15th. Developed by someone named Den, published by Waku Waku Games, and it is on PC only. So, a little background on, I suppose, Den, but mostly the publisher. It seems like Waku Waku Games pretty exclusively publishes for Japanese indie developers, which is fun. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Waku Waku. I had not heard of them up to this point, but it seems like they put out quite a little pile of games. Coming out with games pretty often. So this genre of One Turn Kill is a combo-based deck-building roguelite time loop type of game. If you look at the Steam page, it doesn't actually say roguelike, but I have a very hard time not calling it a roguelike based on the things that you're doing in this game. I suppose as I talk more and more about it, you guys can let me know if it's a true roguelike or not. But that's what I'm calling this. So, presentation, you guys are looking at it. It's gorgeous pixel art. Very good looking game. Kind of what drew me to it from the get-go was the title card type thing that is on Steam, right? Like your cover art. Very cool. Japanese anime girl pulling out her sword to probably kill someone, right, as the title suggests. So very cool looking, draws you in, and then as you get into the game proper, the pixel art is immaculate, extremely good. There's not a lot of it because, as I mentioned, it is a looping type game, so you're not seeing a whole bunch of different environments, but what is there is very good, especially like your home base. There's just a lot of like deep colors, but lots of variety. Just colors all over the place. Lots of depth on the screen. So very good looking game. I will say though that this is a card game. So when you're reading the cards, the text on the cards themselves can be not necessarily like hard to see. You can read them, but they can be quite small, especially if the card is not blown up for you to be able to read it. I believe this game was, I know for a fact that this game was made for a Japanese audience first. And because it's an indie game, it doesn't seem like they did a lot of due diligence to adapt it for English words. They just kind of like crammed what it was in there and like, they're good to go. Felt very old school in that way. We've all played an old school RPG or two in our day. And, when you're playing an early 90s RPG, late 80s RPG, English was very secondary. They weren't even sure a lot of times if it would ever come over here. So they made it for kanji or however they were, the Japanese text that they were using. And they were like, oh, I guess it should be popular over there. So let's push it over there. And then somebody tried to figure out how do we translate this properly? How do we get the words to fit? And in a lot of cases, I think the goofy translations actually probably came from the fact that they needed to skim certain parts out to make sure the English actually fit in those text boxes. So there are some translation issues that I would say in this game. There were times where I'm like, I don't really quite understand what this card does based on what it's telling me, so I guess I'm just gonna have to try it out and see what happens, which isn't all bad either. I think we did that a lot back in the day when we were playing those early games, and you get an item and it tells you red 2 and you're like, I don't know what red 2 means, but we're gonna have to try it to figure it out. Right? So music, bangers, top to bottom, super good. Music's amazing. I would call it like synthwave, sort of dubsteppy in a way, but 100% one of these songs will come to an IQ OST someday. This game's soundtrack is actually on YouTube already, which I was quite surprised about. It's a half year old now, but a lot of the music's been out there for a little while. So I've been listening to some of this as I've been playing the game. It's very good. One of the best things about this game, outside of the art, is the music. Incredible stuff. I just wish there was more of it, and there's reasons why, I suppose, based on what the gameplay is doing, that you don't get more of it. It isn't like a long adventure game where you need 60 tracks. You're doing a lot of looping, so the few songs that you do get make sense, right? You don't need a whole lot more than what you get. Story, you play as a girl named Zaskia. You don't really know what's going on outside of you're sitting here and your sister kind of calls you and is like, hey, time to go do the stuff again and like assassinate the people, right? And you're like, okay. And you kind of get out of your chair and you start along your path and you kill the first guy, and then you move on and you kill the next person, and then you move on. And as you play the game, you realize that you start looping, right? Even if you do make it to all the way to the end, you have a conversation with your sister sometimes, you get sent back, you kind of have questions about why this is happening. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just do it again, right? And then you are aware of the fact that it's looping, but also all the enemies are aware of the fact that it's looping. So you have like these strange conversations that can only happen in like a fourth wall breaking sense. Everyone knows what's going on, and no one's quite sure why it's happening, other than one person, and I won't spoil. This is only a few-hour game. You can beat it in between 5 and 7 hours, so no reason to really spoil the story. If you want to play it, check it out. You can beat it in the evening, really. So, but I will say that it wraps cleanly, and it is kind of a heartfelt story, not unlike some games that the three of us, I'm not sure, Rusty, if you have played the To the Moon series before.
Surprisingly not. It's on my wish list to play. I actually have it on Switch, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Gosh dang, you need to do that. You need to do that, buddy. It's a good game. But it's got some echoes of that, I suppose, in here. So, but I think that wraps up all the beginning stuff. You guys have any questions? Anything you're seeing?
I know you're going to talk about it. I just need to know what the difference between a red card and a blue card is.
All right. Well, we're here. Actually, I don't have that written down. I'm so happy you said that, Steve, because I probably would have forgotten about that detail. But a red card, as you can imagine, is an attack card. Attack first. A blue card is a support card. So as you guys are looking at screenshots, you're seeing some cards. I'll talk about the card stuff. That's the majority of what you're doing in this game, is playing the card game, right? So on every card, every single card, red and blue, they all have a cost, which is the number at the very top left. It will say 0. Sometimes it will say 1. Sometimes it will say 2. There are some that have like very high costs. And you're thinking, okay, if there's a cost to playing a card, I would probably want to have some low-cost cards, some high-cost cards to balance it out. You would be right, but it really depends on kind of what you're building towards. I will say that cost isn't necessarily a bad thing. You do want to have cost on cards because the cost of a card is also the draw. So if I have a 3 cost, I get whatever benefit that card tells me, but I also get to draw 3 cards out of my deck. And so you do need to have cost. You can't just have 0 cost cards across the board because you won't draw anything. and you'll play your 5 cards that you start with, and then you'll be done, and you will almost certainly lose. So there is a delicate balance between drawing and having enough to actually complete the battle, whatever the battle is that you're doing, right? So each enemy has a health bar. At the very beginning, they start out pretty low, but as you get going and you do the loops, right, it gets more and more difficult as you keep progressing, and their health gets bigger and bigger. They also can act in their own way, the enemies can, so that eventually they start pretty tame, but eventually they can really do some damaging things to your character. So you kind of have to balance that. The name of the game is One Turn Kill. So sort of the unique experience that you're getting from this card game versus some other deck builders that people out there might have played is that you truly are only, it doesn't really feel like it, but you really are only given one turn. So you basically are, the moral of the story, the name of the game is draw your deck, make it so you can play everything and just go boom, right? It's like a nuclear bomb is going off by the end. That is often how I played it. I'm sure that you can play it a lot of different ways. But an example of how I played the game, you guys can look at screenshots right now. There's a card at the very beginning of the game called Fog Clearing, and it is a 2-cost card that does 12 damage, right? That's all it is. It doesn't have any special text. It's just a 2-cost card, does 12 damage. At the beginning of the game, it's okay. It does something, right? It's not too heavy cost. You're doing some damage. Towards the end of the game, you end up getting a lot of different cards that also allow you to have more fog clearings. And then there's a blue card that adds 15 attack to all fog clearings. So I ended up building, to beat the game, I had a deck where I basically made it so I drew out my entire hand, or my entire deck into my hand, and morphed. And there's also a blue card that turns other cards into fog clearings. So I had all fog clearings. I pumped all of them up once I drew everything out. It's kind of like a little bit of a tactical strategy to do this correctly and actually get down to 0 cost, not need anything else. Then there are also blue cards that can reduce all cost of cards. So I basically reduced my entire hand to 0 and just bam, went in, played every single fog clearing I had. Some of them had 150 attack, some of them had 60. By the time I got to the end, I could usually clear. The only issue is that enemies do have something to say about this, especially later in your runs. Each enemy has like a special ability that they can do. And I don't want to give too much away, but the second girl that you meet on your road to the end is like a church girl. There's like a robotic pastor with her. I don't know. It's kind of strange. But she makes it so that she basically puts, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but she will like toss junk into your deck, like nothing cards. And so it makes it so that when you're then drawing, you're not drawing the cards you need, you're drawing nothing cards. And you can't use those for anything. They can't be played. But in the fog clearing deck, you can transform, as long as you have the blue card that turns stuff into fog clearing, you can transform those junk cards into more fog clearing. So it almost plays into your benefit. You also have to be wary of not drawing everything out and still having cost, because you can't play that stuff if you have cost, right? So you either have to reduce everything to 0, or against her, you're fine, because she's going to keep putting stuff into your deck, so you can kind of constantly play stuff, right? So it's that delicate balance, I think, that a lot of deck builders do, and like strategic deck builders, of course, especially. And honestly, one of the most fun things about this game, I think what makes a good deck builder, is just sitting there for 15 minutes, looking at all the cards and seeing how does everything play together. You can have 3 copies of each card that you own in the deck, and it's a 20-card deck. So you're just like kind of pure, looking through all your cards, seeing what fits, seeing what doesn't, reading the text. Sometimes there's a very interesting combo that you don't even realize until you play it. That happened to me actually at the very end of the game. I was still like experimenting, trying to figure out what's the extra couple cards that's going to give it the spice to get it over that line, right? And I didn't even realize that 2 cards complemented each other very well, and that kind of got me over that hump. I'm looking at my notes briefly here to see if there's anything else that I've forgotten. There are abilities that you get at the beginning of every battle that give you like an extra thing, and it doesn't take it is a one-turn kill, but each time you play a card, it's almost like taking a turn. But when you use your abilities, it doesn't waste a turn, right? So at the very beginning, you get something called a bomb, right? And it just goes out and does 30 damage, just free 30 damage, right? On top of it, you don't waste a mini turn or anything like that. It's just 30 extra damage. Eventually, you get abilities that will allow you to duplicate a card in hand, will allow you to... there's actually an ability that gives you 3 extra fog clearings, which goes into your fog clearing deck, of course. But those abilities are completely random, just like the Balatros of the world, right? You get some random stuff, and if you get lucky, you get the thing you want. If you don't, then you're going to have to figure out a way to make that ability work, right? You get to also upgrade cards, little extra thing. At the beginning, I was like, how am I going to beat this game? It feels like all these cards are just too weak. Well, eventually you get to open up like the shop thing, and you get all these credits as you're playing through the game, and you can upgrade each and every card once, and the upgraded version often feels much stronger, which is always good when you're playing a game like this. You want to feel like you're actually making that progress. So, I think that's everything that I wanted to say about One Turn Kill. Any other questions or comments before I inevitably put it on the quest log?
It looks like it's reasonably short. How difficult was it? Were you able to cruise through it, or was it pretty tough?
I actually kind of felt like a dum-dum because
I can relate.
It took me about 6 hours. How long to beat has it? About 5, and then after you beat it, you start looking through some comments on Steam, and some people are like, I just wish it was longer. I wish it was more challenging. I pretty much beat the game and got all achievements in like 6 hours. And I just straight up beat the game in 6 hours. I have not even gotten all the achievements yet. I have gone back and done some stuff. I'm sure that there are ways that you can just jump into the deck builder and just make some absolutely game-breaking stuff. I have not found that personally. It's a pretty popular game, almost 1,500 reviews on Steam. I imagine there's probably guides out there where people are like, hey, just do this thing and you'll break it, right? And you have to get lucky on the draw, of course, because it is a card game. But the thing that I enjoyed most about this game is what a deck builder does well, and that is you sit there, you look at the cards, you feel good about putting something together. You did that, right? I did that. I made that deck. I made that thing work, and I succeeded at the end, and that's what felt good. Eventually, I may just want to get all achievements, and I'll just like look some good decks up to be able to bust it open. But for example, there's an achievement where it says kill the Scarecrow, and the Scarecrow is just the dummy that you can like practice on in the main base. And that Scarecrow has 999 health, so it is not easy to kill it before you run out of cards. But I just kind of experimented with it. 3 or 4 tries, and by the 4th try, I'm like, oh, okay, this works with, okay, that makes sense. And then, boom, it all went off, and it worked, and it was like, oh, that feels good, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think is the intended way to play, but I would assume there's probably people out there that's just like, well, just give me the easy win, and let's go. But, yeah, that's how I enjoyed it. Your mileage may vary there, I suppose.
Yeah, I was going to ask. You did mention To the Moon. So the story in this is it gonna leave you with a puddle of tears at the end, or is it just solid, or is the comparison just the way it's told, or is it like emotional like that game?
It feels like a similar outcome, I suppose, as To the Moon. And even the reason I mention it is because it's the story. I don't think most people are going to go into it for the story, so it's like anybody here that wants to play this game is not like, oh man, that story sounded very intriguing. To be completely honest, yes, it is heartfelt. It's nice. No tears.
Okay.
Also, the translation issues kind of held some of that back. Like it gave it that
stilted,
robotic feeling. Yeah, right. A little bit of that, where it's like, I am reading English, right? Like, there is some playfulness here and there where they kind of did do the right thing and like put some of that emotion into it, but oftentimes it felt like I was reading somebody very potentially the dev just used a translation software or something and just like ChatGPT type of thing. Like, hey, give me close, right? Maybe had somebody read it over and like, okay, this makes the most sense, right? I'm sorry, I'm very sorry actually if that's not the case. It just felt a little not of native tongue, I suppose, which is okay.
Yeah.
We've played plenty, like I said, we played plenty of that stuff. I'm not a big deal, but it did make it emotionally fall flat a little bit.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
One comment that like this means nothing to anybody. I just can't get out of my brain, so I have to speak it out loud. The font that they chose really reminds me of there's like a default system font on the Nintendo DS that certain games used that would repeat from game to game. And the font in this game really reminds me of like one of those default Nintendo DS fonts. You know, people that read Lux Payne, famed visual novel on the Nintendo DS, will recognize this font.
Yeah, it does. I agree with you 100%. I had a hard time really understanding where I recognize it from, but it probably is that, right? Because the font, it isn't just like a very, very average, normal word type font. It's video game type font, and it goes with like the pixel art style. But that makes a lot of sense that that's where you've seen it from. Reminds me of the same thing.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, I will put one turn kill on the quest log then. This was a tough one for me. Some of the stuff I've kind of talked about, a few of the cons. Translation stuff kind of holds it back. I don't want to say it's the worst thing ever, but it does hold it back a little bit. Understanding, like I'm okay with the story being weirdly translated and like reading between the lines there, but needing to use almost all the cards to figure out what they really do based on what it says. I mean, some of them are very basic, like, oh, attacks 3 times. Okay, get it. But I have to almost go in and use all the cards to kind of figure out what they do beforehand. Even if you watch the trailer on YouTube, or on Steam, probably on YouTube as well, every single card is in Japanese still. They didn't like change that to English for the English audience. They just left the trailer in Japanese, right? So it was very much Japanese forward. So yeah, I mean, that held it back a bit, but I think that I had enough fun, and actually quite a lot of fun, and the experimentation and just doing the loops over and over again. I was thinking about it when I wasn't playing. That's always a very good sign. So I am going to put one turn kill on the main quest. Solid game. Right up there for me. I feel like I would look back and be a little sad if I had put it on the side quest. So I think that's a good way to reflect. So, yeah, one turn kill. It is a main quest game.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Exciting stuff. All right, I put it on my wish list. I'll add it to the 2026 stack of homework. You did it.
Heck yeah.
I'd prefer that it comes to consoles, but I am willing to play it on PC.
Unfortunately, there's no controller support in this game. I tried. I plugged it in, and it's like mouse only, but it could absolutely play with the controller. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, in that regard, it's lucky that it's only like a 5-ish hour game, because if you don't have controller support and you're a PC game and you're long, it's over for you. I'm just never going to play it. It's not going to happen. I sit here 9 hours a day working. I don't want to sit here any more than that.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, you know what? Mine's not too long of a game, so why don't I go and then we'll roll the red carpet out for Mr. RE-LOOIE here.
Sounds good.
So, this wasn't like necessarily a conscious decision of mine, but life and I guess my other gaming priorities have kept me very busy. So I've been favoring, for IndieQuest and for the indies I play, I've been favoring very short experiences. Again, we had them on recently. I feel like Weedo. I'm playing a whole bunch of real short, fun games. But for this particular episode, the short, fun game I brought is a little game called Birdsong. You will not find it on Steam, so close Steam. Stop searching for it. It is on itch.io only. It is developed by and published by Daniel Linson, whose name you may recognize as the creator of Leap Year, which we quite enjoyed.
Oh.
So I was looking to see, has he made another game since Leap Year? No, but brought me to his itch page, which made me realize he's made a bunch of small games. And I said, let's play one of these. So Birdsong was released, get this, December 9th, 2014. This is a 12-year-old game. It was created for a game jam, actually, Ludum Dare 31. And if you want to play this game, it's playable in browser. You can go to managore.itch.io/birdsong or just punch Birdsong game into Google, and whatever the first itch link is, that'll be the one. There's no story set up in this game, but I would like you all to go to managore.itch.io/birdsong and scroll down and click in the browser where it says run game. And then just sit on that window for a second, because within about 10 seconds, the entire hook of this game will be revealed before your very eyes. And I'd prefer to see your natural reactions to it before I describe anything.
Okay.
They're doing it now. They're panicking. They're trying to find their browsers.
This is not as easy to run as Moss Moss for me. I don't know why. I don't see a run game. Unless I'm just missing it.
I'll put it in our chat here.
What is happening here?
See, Rusty sees what's going on. All right. IndieQuest boys. I mean, you're probably at the right URL, but it does say it's a relatively-ish demanding game, so maybe certain PCs can't handle just running it in the browser. There's a reason for this.
I didn't even see the button for it. I think I'm blind.
I am exactly on what Steve sent, and I just don't see run. I mean, I can download it, which I may just do.
Did you scroll down the page a little bit?
I'm all the way. I've scrolled up and down, and then back up, and then back down.
Well, while you look that up, Rusty, in the vaguest terms possible, how you feeling about what you're seeing?
So it almost looks kind of like an old school 2D platformer, very Mario Brothers like. But when I click run game, it's almost like it almost looks like the very end of a horror movie when like the final climax is drawing near and the plot point that you didn't anticipate is revealing itself. Almost like Cabin in the Woods. Like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here, where you see the entire world and all the levels are kind of viewable on the screen, but it's very dreamlike. It's very bizarre.
Very strange. Well, as the boys go to look it up, I will describe it then, because we've stalled for enough time. Birdsong is a single-screen platformer, and that is genuinely true. It is a single-screen platformer. However, it is a whole-ass game on your screen at one time. So you open it up, it looks like a very standard 2D pixel art indie kind of game, and then this incredibly dramatic fisheye lens effect warps the entire world, and suddenly you see the entire game world at one time.
This is wild. I finally got to.
Yeah, same.
I thought it was going to stop. I thought it was like, oh, this is an effect where it's going to go like in and out. No. You're truly like, you can see literally everywhere you can go.
Yes. And all the moving platforms, you can see, I mean, they're little tiny, like individual pixels at that scale, but you can see like the collectibles once you know where to look. Like, the whole game is there. Your main character is centered in the screen around this fisheye lens, and as you move around, the fisheye effect follows you. So it's almost like zooming in on the part of the world map that you're on, and the entire rest of the world is warped around you. And so you can... It's a bit hard to describe. That's why I'd say it's easier to just go there and see it. But stuff, I would say... stuff in your direct vicinity, very clear, crisp pixel art. Stuff in like a moderate range around you is all warped and difficult to see and understand. But stuff in the game world that is quite far away from you is not hitting that with that warp. It's really just kind of zoomed really far away, so you can see that stuff. So you can see kind of like the far corners of the world easily, and less close to you, but a lot very, very close to you. And so it's the big hook of Birdsong, is this single screen game that you can see a whole Metroidvania, a whole gated exploration all at once. That said, the actual game itself, I mean, how complex could it really be given that context? You know, there's a surprisingly deep game. It'll take you probably, I don't know, probably 45-ish minutes to complete the game, give or take. It's a genuine gated exploration game in that you will travel around this world. You will find upgrades. Those upgrades will gain you access to different parts of the levels. You will backtrack using those new abilities to uncover areas and secrets. Well, areas that you could always see, but areas that you can now access and secrets that you could not previously collect. And your ultimate goal is to kind of collect these specific objects scattered all throughout the world that require different abilities to unlock. And I can tell you all right now, Seth is having a good time because I can see the frustration in his face as he's trying to, what I assume is jump around some spikes.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say, I mean, I've been sort of listening to. I'm sorry.
I keep doing this. I keep bringing browser games that you guys could just play while I talk about them.
I wonder, and it hasn't affected me, but the screen I feel like could make certain people sort of nauseous.
Yeah.
It is strange, man. Like you're pretty focused on your own character. But the only thing that I will say so far in playing the game is depth perception is not your friend in this game. Like you can't really tell. I imagine that the dev obviously made it so it's like, oh, if there's a platform right there, you probably can jump to it, right? But it feels so far away sometimes because of that globe effect.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like, oh my gosh, that thing's right next to me, and then you start running, then you're like, oh, actually, it was not at all right next to me. You know, it's half the world away. And I'm not surprised that you had like a little frustrated look on your face. Frustration is a little dramatic, but still. It is a precision platformer. Like, it is a game that is designed to be difficult. It is a one-hit kill kind of game with spikes littered all throughout the world. In fact, one of the main mechanics of the game, as you explore the game, there's 3 different things that you're ultimately going to be collecting. Sticks, orbs, and upgrades. Upgrades speak for themselves. It's just ways that let you interact with the world. It's a very, very short game, so I don't need to like give any of them away. But if you have played any gated exploration, you will be familiar with at least some of the upgrades that you're going to get here. You can imagine just from seeing the level designs, like, oh, that is too high of a ledge for me to get to. I wonder how I'll get there. Things like that. The second thing is the orbs that you'll collect. Those are like they're just like the little knickknacks that you need to collect to beat the game. There's 7 of them hidden throughout the game. Your ultimate goal is basically to collect all 7 of those to learn how to fly. And as you play the game, you'll understand why you need to collect those 7 orbs. But the other collectible and the most common collectible is sticks. And sticks are kind of tucked all throughout the world, some in obvious places, some in less obvious places. Every time you're running around, you'll come across these little tiles in the ground with the letter S on them, presumably for save. And if you have a stick, you can press enter to create a save point there, which is essentially a respawn point there. So you need to be relatively diligent in exploring the world, otherwise you won't have enough sticks to create save points, and you'll be creating longer gauntlets of spike jumps and platforms and things that are just going to be more difficult to navigate. Now, it's generally, the stick economy is quite generous. You will probably not have a problem with it, but if you're somehow mainlining this game in particular, you might want to go doing a little more exploration. And good news for you, you can see all the sticks on the screen at all times. They're right there. Just look. It is quite an addicting game. This is the type of game that I did research on a second monitor during work and then did lose an hour of paid labor from my company to completing. We one-shot the game. And it is quite enjoyable. Now, I will say, as you're moving around, this is a bit of a little bit of a check against it. As far as I can tell, you can only control the game with the arrow keys and then jump with up or jump with W. You might be able to do A and
Space.
D to move. Yeah, but you have to do like WASD or arrows to move around. So obviously not great. Oh, it looks like there is controller support. I just didn't have one plugged in. That would make it a lot better, actually.
Yeah, I saw that on Itch. I was like, holy crap, Xbox controller. Amazing. If and when I play this game, that is how I'm going to play right there.
Definitely what I would recommend people do, because I just personally did not find the arrow keys super satisfying. I also will say there's like a bit of a strangeness to the maybe momentum is the right word for it. Sometimes it just felt a little bit slippery, where like my jumps weren't exactly handling the way I expected, or like there's like a little bit of like a inertia to starting to run that sometimes made like gauging short distances into a jump difficult. I don't want to stand here with too much pride, but I have played a number of precision platformers. I'm pretty well seasoned in games like Super Meat Boy. And I have like an internal radar where I'm like, I feel like I don't deserve these deaths. I feel like these shouldn't be happening. Now you can cry foul and say like, bro, just get good, and that's fair. But there was more than I would care to admit situations where I was like, and sometimes that is exaggerated by that warping effect, because not often, but sometimes you will need to jump like to platforms that are kind of outside of your central view in the sphere, and so like it's easy to under or overshoot those jumps because you have to kind of just keep like a mental image of how far you're going to need to jump in your head. But again, this is a game that was made for a game jam, so presumably made in a few weeks. We can't be all that critical about the subtleties of the movement mechanics. Certainly, Daniel has put together a game way more fun in a couple weeks than I could produce in the rest of my living days. If you said you don't have to work anymore, Steve, from this point forward, make a game before you die, I would probably not produce something half as good as Birdsong. So, just is what it is. Something else to note about the game. I mean, it looks good. Like the pixel art is cute. It's relatively, I would say, like straightforward pixel art. It is cute. It's got a nice, like, pleasing light blue palette. The music, though, in this game, it is a choice. It's just a wall of sound. Like it's just like someone heavy chords just boo boo. It gives the game like a stressful. It's like almost kind of ominous as I'm playing it. I'm waiting for the horror turn. I'm waiting for things to get scary, because the game is intense in a way I was not expecting sonically.
Yeah. I was playing the game, and it's just like you're just like pleasantly describing the game with just like the horrors of the universe playing in the background,
Yeah. Does the music ever change, or is that it from start to finish?
Okay, I can't tell you 100% of it never changes. I don't think it does, because I played the first half hour of the game with no sound because I was dual computering it at work. And then as I started to get towards the last third of the game, I was like, I'm going to bring this game to IndieQuest. I should probably know what it sounds like. So I listened to the last third or so of the music, and it was that loud chords. And then I restarted the game and played the first 10 minutes, and it was similar or the same music. So presumably it doesn't get chipper and light somewhere in the center. I think you get what you get there with that one. But it is a really interesting game for sure. And I think that's really all there is to describe. Again, it's like a 45-minute game. It's not something that I need to belabor the point on, and I don't want to give, there's just a couple fun little things to discover. I don't want to give any of that away. But given that, I am curious if you fellas have any questions before we quest log this game.
I think that you described it aptly. I kept thinking as you were talking, did he talk about the nest thing yet? You obviously did. But as soon as you come across the first one, you must already have a stick in inventory or something. And so you just make the nest.
Yes.
And then you come across the second one that's I think it says above it, you need to get a stick to make more nests or something like that. It's like, I'm pressing enter, make nest. I gotta go find a stick.
And I might just be a little bit of a dope, but the game, when you collect your first stick, it does say use sticks to make a nest. But you kind of start in a nest in the game, and so I was like, do I need to go back to the do I need to bring this stick back to the nest? No. It actually took me a little longer than I would care to admit to work out at the save points you press a button to create a nest using the sticks. Yeah. So just so you know, it's just you generating a checkpoint at specific tiles. That's all they're there for.
I think I do. One thing that I'll credit this game on in just the 5 minutes that I played of it so far is, and I guess some people would say it's a little obtrusive to do this maybe, but the fact that the game never stops you, it just puts instructions on screen for you to just read if you want to, or don't. Ignore them if you care to. It's whatever, it's up to you, right? Play it however you want. But you can just move along at your own pace, and when it gives you a little hint, it's like, okay, it's there for you. And I think more games could use a little bit of that, right? Where it's just very, very subtle signposting where you're not stopping the game, making you talk to somebody for 3 minutes to figure something out. So,
yes, nice and straightforward. It shows you its trick up front, then it accomplishes some fun things, and it's done before it starts to feel like it's dragging on. So we'd love to see that. Okay, well, it's time to place it on the quest log then. First, I just want to reiterate, this game came out in 2014, okay? The Wii U was a fresh, hot, new console at the time this game was released. We were just experiencing Mario Kart 8, wondering if this was the future of Mario. So, a different era that this released into. Just a couple years after Braid. So this feels like the type of game that was made last year, but no, it happened some time ago. I will say, as I mentioned, very fun idea, very fun game to play through. I did have some quibbles with the experience. I did have some moments where I was like, I don't know if that was me. So to me, this feels like quite a strong side quest. You put it on the side quest, you have an hour of free time that you're going to go play a game. This is the type of game that you pick up and play. And we rarely have this opportunity. But I will say, I think maybe the developer might agree with me. Daniel, if you're listening, do you agree it's a side quest? Because on managor.itch.io, which is a page that lists all of his games, he says, I hope you enjoy my games below. And then in parentheses it says, they're roughly in order from best to worst. And very top of the list is Leap Year. So, most proud of Leap Year. But you got to scroll down 8 or 9 games before you get to Birdsong. So it's sort of in the middle-ish, top middle of the pack. So I don't know where Daniel puts the fold in terms of the pride in his work. But it seems like he understands that he's made at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish games better than Birdsong, which to me has strong side quest energy.
Awesome.
He has 21,000 followers on X. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought he was a pretty small dev. That's solid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's doing great work. Every time I play one of these games, I think to myself, that is fantastic. And I still need to go back and play the Leap Year DLC.
March.
Yeah, I've not done March.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions to you. I was like, have you played March yet? The DLC? No. That's something I did want to mention, just as a comment to add on to this, is I did look up the Ludum Dare 31. The actual category is entire game on one screen. So that's what he was kind of setting out to do, and definitely a really cool take on it. I've never seen you've never seen a game that looks like this. I'll say that's something awesome about it.
Yeah, genuinely unique. In a world of, we've covered now at this point on the quest log 280-ish games. Nothing that even remotely looks like this game. So, genuinely unique and very cool. So, yeah, that's Birdsong. Nice side quest.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Rusty, red carpet is rolled out for you. What you got for us today?
Well, here's the thing. So, both Seth and Steve have brought games that are very, very indie. There's no there's no doubt that those both are independent developed games, and I feel like mine kind of toes the line just slightly. It's an indie game. I've googled it many times. It's definitely a small studio, but I feel like in terms of size and scope, it definitely toes the line. But a quick story, I have to frame this up because I think for those that know me, and certainly the three of you, it's very likely that I would bring some kind of collectathon 3D platformer type of game. And I have a couple wishlisted on Steam, and I'm like, no, I want to do something a little bit different this time around. And so about a month ago, I actually had to have kind of a major surgical procedure done. And so it kind of put me out for like a week and a half or so. I was kind of recovering. And when I came home, still kind of coming down from the anesthesia, I'm on pain medication. I'm like, you know what sounds good right now? Jumping back into the world of Skyrim. But then I was like, I do this every year. I play this game for 20 or 30 hours. I do the same character build. Oh, wait a second. Last year, around the springtime, I downloaded a game day and date when it came out because I was really looking forward to playing this game. Not a ton of people talking about it. I would say it's more of kind of a PC centric RPG, but I ended up installing and playing to completion Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Mm-hmm. Have you guys heard of this game?
As you were talking about it, I was already typing it in because I have heard of this one. So our friend Briz played through this and like was talking. Yeah, he's a huge fan of Skyrim as well. So he's like he's kind of in the community. Like, oh my god, I love Bethesda games. Or Life is Strange, but that's a different story. But he was talking about how much he liked this one. So I'm curious to see what you have to say about it.
Yeah, so it's a small Polish studio called Questline, and it was published by Awaken Realms, and they're most notable for tabletop kind of dungeon crawler RPGs, and they have kind of an entire Tainted Grail universe. And I believe this game was originally built to be some kind of survival RPG. You see some of that DNA in the game, but it is very much at its core described by many as indie Skyrim. And I think for the first 5 to 8 hours, that definitely is the flavor and feel of the gameplay, kind of maybe what they're setting up. I mean, the game literally starts, you're imprisoned, and you have to get out of your cell, which is how Oblivion starts. So it's very familiar territory in that sense. But after you get into like the 10 to 12 hour mark, you really see that the game is doing a lot more different things that I don't even think Skyrim, Oblivion, and the Bethesda RPGs do very well. They're very formulaic. I don't think stories are anything to write home about. And I think the world building here, the writing, and just kind of what they're doing with the kind of the base story is much more interesting. But to kind of set the stage for folks that are kind of looking at gameplay, it's a first-person action RPG. It's set kind of like in like Arthurian mythology. So think like King Arthur, Camelot, Knights of the Round Table, Sword in the Stone. It's a very dark reinterpretation of that world. So you kind of start, you're imprisoned, you're kind of trying to make sense of what's going on. And as you escape, there's this person kind of helping you along and getting you out of this kind of insane asylum-like island. You get on a boat, you kind of come up to kind of this other island of sorts, and you're kind of left your own devices. You have a waymarker on the map, you have to go to this major city, but it really doesn't have a bunch of like notable things on the map to kind of guide you. It really leaves you to be curiosity as kind of your guide as you're exploring this world. And how I would describe it is the gameplay is very much kind of that first-person close quarters, melee combat, sword and shield, bow and arrow if you want to be melee, or range, and then certainly if you want to have kind of a mage magic build, you can do that too. But I think the character building and the lore, and I guess character progression is what I meant to say, and the story feels much more FromSoft, Elden Ring. You kind of have during major cutscenes that narrator kind of describing what's going on, still images of the world, kind of breaking down what's going on. And essentially, King Arthur kind of failed in his mission. So Avalon, the fall of it, is the world kind of imploding into itself because of his inability to kind of save the people that live there. And it's kind of been plagued by what's called the weirdness, but it's spelled W-Y-R-D. So in the game, there's kind of a day-night cycle, and whenever night falls, you have these kind of spiritual, ghost-like creatures that come out that are much more powerful than the things that kind of roam the world during the day. But early in the game, you kind of discover that you've inherited part of King Arthur's soul. So your quest is to essentially right the wrongs of his past, the mistakes that he made. You're trying to kind of course correct history and go through this world and kind of save the people that live there. But one of the things that struck me most about the game, kind of going back to how it differs from Skyrim, is in its quest design. I think if you've played Skyrim, you know you have the main quest, you have the dragons roaming the skies, all that kind of stuff. And then you also have the major guild quests. So you have mages, Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, and all of those quest lines kind of take place in their pocketed areas of the world. They feel very formulaic. Whenever you go into a town, you have the natural fetch questy type stuff of like, hey, I need you to go in the woods and kill 5 wolves or 5 goblins, and you're going to get 100 gold and some experience points, and you go on your merry way. I feel like in this game, you can often like not differentiate between what's going on in the main story and then just picking up something that's kind of a side quest. It feels like the world is much more interconnected than something like Skyrim. And there were so many instances where I saw this guy under a bridge. He was kind of just camping out. I walk up to him. I have a conversation. He tells me he's diseased. He needs help. He doesn't really know how you can help him. And it doesn't give you a quest marker to how you should help this guy. It just tells you need to kind of figure out at some point how to help this man. And so 5 or so hours later, I'm talking to someone as part of a main quest. He's kind of is a master in alchemy and potion making and all this kind of stuff. And there are natural triggers in the conversation log that I can, talk to him to progress the main quest. But there's an option there that says, hey, I ran into this guy and he needs some help to kind of cure this disease. And so you start talking to him, he gives you some ingredients, and that re-triggers the side quest from 5 hours ago when you ran into this guy. So just another example of how the world feels much more interconnected and not constantly reminding you that, hey, you're playing a video game, right? There's no, when you're talking to people, like in a BioWare RPG where it's like, that person really didn't like that you disagreed with them. Like, there's none of that, right? You're really much more... you have to read body language. You have to hear the tone of the voice shift when you make a particular dialogue choice, when you're talking to NPCs. The game really doesn't hold your hand in that sense from a storytelling perspective, but also its difficulty. Because I played this game when it first released back in 2025, and it was hard as hell. And to the point where I played it for about an hour, and I thought, I'm biting off more than I can chew here. This game might not be for me. And in addition to that, you have to acknowledge that there's quite a bit of unpolish with kind of the graphical style, just kind of the texture quality. There's some uneven voice acting and things like that. But the difficulty balancing was pretty rough at launch. Since the game has released, about a year afterwards, they kind of released a major kind of 2.0 patch that added difficulty settings. So I have no shame in admitting I literally played this game on story difficulty, attributed to the anesthesia, the pain medication. I had no capacity to beat my head against a wall during major boss battles or navigating the world. But there were a number of times where I did die. So the game is definitely still, I think, well balanced in terms of its difficulty and things of that nature. But before I kind of continue to just gush about this for another 20, 30 minutes, any just general questions off the top?
I'm curious kind of on the point of difficulty, and just based on like the trailers I'm looking at, I know this is a stereotypical thing to ask, and like comparing all dark fantasy to the Souls games is like a bit of a stereotype, but is there Souls energy to this game? Certainly in some of the environment designs I'm looking at, and some of the enemy designs they show in the trailer, I feel like we're getting a little bit of Souls vibe. But does that extend to other parts? I mean, it does, I guess, extend to the quest design. That's very Souls Quest, is you just come across a wheezing man under a bridge who, chuckles to himself as he...
hello.
Tainted soul.
Yeah, exactly.
But is it like does the combat feel Souls-like in any way, or is it just more like art direction and game design?
Art direction, game design, definitely is the NPCs and how the quests are structured and things like that. But thankfully, I'd feel like the combat is very much more Skyrim, Bethesda RPG. There is kind of a parry system if you're using melee, but it isn't like Sekiro where like the precision window is like you have to be like a master or super skilled to be able to hit it, right? It's nothing like that. Okay. I would say from a character progression standpoint, whenever you level up, you have two different skill points that you can allocate. One is to kind of like your base character build, so think health, stamina, like magic, things like that. And then you have kind of a massive skill tree across a variety of different categories that you can also allocate a skill to. So based on your character build, I was very much a two-handed warrior kind of build person. So I'm very much going to allocate skills into things that increase 5% more damage when using two-handed weapons, things like that, right? Yeah. And then there's other things that you can allocate skills to make lockpicking easier, or using different foods and potions, net you more health benefit, things like that, right? But it feels like the skill progression is more trying to be Souls-like than it is baseline Bethesda RPG.
Okay. And you answered my second question. It sounds like you broke from the trap of just sneaking around and using your bow and arrow for everything.
I did, because early on I was like, I'm totally just going to do the same damn thing I do in every time I play Skyrim. But early on, like, you can use a bow and arrow, but it just has no punch. It did not feel like it had the weight of like I can one-shot people in Skyrim all the time. It doesn't take too long to build a character that can do that or is capable of doing that. But I feel like this game is not as conducive. I will say, though, one of the bigger complaints, if you start watching videos and reviews online, is once you get to that 15-hour mark in the game, you can break it very easily. Like, you could have a mage build that is just one-shotting people. I was very intentional about not trying to overly optimize my character, because I wanted it to feel like I was progressing naturally. I wanted each boss battle to feel like there was satisfaction after doing that, right? So something to be mindful of if you're someone who tends to kind of overly optimize characters and break it early. You're very capable of doing that, but I also think it's better to just experience the game kind of naturally. But you're also you're unlocking or netting experience points for everything that you do in the game. You stumble upon a cave and discover it, experience points. Every time you kill an enemy, experience points. And then naturally when you're doing quests and things like that. But again, it doesn't feel unnatural. It feels very like rewarding in the sense like, oh yes, let's get back into the menu screen. Let's really strategize of which skill points and things I want to allocate things to continue to build my character.
Awesome.
So more of a comment than a question, and it's only because I'm scrolling as one does, looking at the Steam page and scrolling around. The first comment. This is someone who has played 374 hours of this game. And the first thing they say is, this is the best game I've played since Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. That is quite quite a comment. Mm-hmm. That is, first of all, this person has dedicated probably half a year of constant video game playing to this game. And then also is like, yeah, by the way, it's also amazing. As in, about as good as Baldur's Gate 3. That's insane.
One of the biggest things I wanted to do, because when it comes to, and Steve will probably know this better than anyone, I really tend to oversell games when I talk about them, because I'm very passionate. Even my Ubisoft open world games, my 3D platformers, like if you watch some of my videos, you're like, this guy really needs to kind of just relax a little bit when he's talking about Tamarin, a little 3D platformer where you're playing as a monkey. Like, let's just chill out. But this game, it really, ever since I played Skyrim, right, I've been searching for that feeling of immersion where the hours just float on by and you're always thinking about the game when you're not playing it, and you're just constantly losing yourself in the world, and you kind of forget that you're playing a game at times. And I don't want to sound too hyperbolic, but this is the closest I've probably come to Skyrim in an open world kind of first person RPG like this since that game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of open world games, but every time you talk about one, like Assassin's Creed, Elder Scrolls, I'm pulled a little closer in. I'm looking at screenshots of this game, and I'm like, I don't know, man, this game's looking pretty fun. Why did I hear so much about Crimson Desert and I didn't hear anybody talking about Tainted Grail?
Well, so it's a great comment, Steve, and I was thinking about you a lot while I was playing this, because I know Skyrim, like, it's come and gone, right? You played a little bit in VR, like, This to me is the best game for you to scratch the Skyrim itch, especially because it marries a lot of FromSoft ideas with its quest structure, character progression, and the enemy design is just really, really freaking weird. I'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. The Polykill kids would probably call me an open world sicko, maybe even a pervert. Okay, I love my open world games. I've probably put over 1,000 hours collectively into the Assassin's Creed series. I put 100 hours into Days Gone. Why would anyone do that? I mean, I really love my open world games. What I love about this one, though, because I love checking off a list like anyone, right? And Ubisoft tends to do that. You do a sync point, you see 500 little markers on the map, and it just does something to your brain, checking off each of those boxes. This game doesn't have any of that. There is no open world anxiety at all. When you enter a new area, there's no icons to speak of. When you go into a town and you see a bunch of people, there's no exclamation points on people's heads saying, hey, come over here, like I have a quest for you. Like, you really have to naturally and organically go into a town, talk to different people, exhaust dialogue options. Sometimes it triggers a quest line, sometimes it doesn't. And in addition to that, the consequence to choice in this game is pretty significant. Like, you might do something that is seemingly insignificant in a major quest, say no, piss a person off, or do something positive. 5 to 8 hours later, someone's going to bring something up to say, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. And because you did that, like, a certain quest line could just be removed entirely from your game because you made a choice that dictated that, right? And I think something that I've been really craving in recent years in my RPGs is games that have choices with consequence. And I think BioWare sometimes dangles things like that above you, but like the consequences really aren't that significant. Like, everyone still gets the same ending at the end of the game, kind of a thing. This is not like that. There are significant consequences to your decisions. So, be mindful of the choices that you make. And I also feel like, going back to the quest structure, and particularly on the side quests sometimes being indistinguishable from main quests, very early in the game, just to kind of paint the picture of some of the things that you can expect that aren't just go kill 5 goblins and you'll get some experience points. I was talking to this guy, and he was talking to me about, hey, like, I love going to this brewery. I left some papers there, some documents that are really important to me. Would you mind going there, talking to the head brewer, and retrieving them for me? And I was like, okay, perfect. Just your typical fetch quest in an RPG. So I go there, I'm talking to the bartender, and I'm asking about this guy, and I'm saying, hey, this person was asking for some documents. I'm wondering if they were left around, if he left them here. And the person's talking about this character, but they're talking to them in the past tense. Oh yeah, he was a great guy. He was here all the time. Did he leave anything here? I don't know. I'll ask around. So you're kind of thinking, like, why is he talking in the past tense? So he eventually just finds these documents that he left. You gather them, you go back to this character and say, hey, it was really awkward. I was talking to the bartender about these documents that you left, but he was talking about you in the past tense. And because you complete this quest and you guys have this conversation, he begins to process that he had passed away. He hadn't accepted his own death yet. And so as you're having this conversation with him, he begins to kind of turn into a ghost-like creature or person, and his spirit continues to roam through the town, but you kind of almost helped him process his own death. So it's things like that that are just really kind of break the normal mold of RPG side quests. You can probably attribute that to this being kind of a tabletop RPG developer and publisher. You see a lot of that in the writing and the narrative structure. So cannot compliment that enough. It's really, really strong.
Yeah, as you described the quest structure, honestly, Seth, it reminded me of Divinity Original Sin, the way that those dialogue choices are coming up, like big CRPG energy in terms of your conversations, your relationships mattering, things coming back up way later in the game, things kind of like appropriately finding the right person who can help someone out in their quest and bringing it up kind of offhandedly in addition to the main quest. That all feels very CRPG, which also makes sense when we're seeing that 300-hour, they're a pervert for sure, review saying that it's the best game since Baldur's Gate 3. So maybe a good blend of the two genres.
Just shows that a lot of the best games out there, as long as they boil back to D&D, probably pretty good.
Yeah,
For sure.
fair.
For sure. Well, to that end, I did not spend 300 hours in this game. I did no life it, though. I totally no life this game. I rolled credits within about, 7 to 10 days from starting it. I spent 40 hours, and I also earned the Platinum Trophy in those 4 hours. I won't get too into the trophies, but just to kind of frame up like how long it took me to do most of the game. Now, there's an absurd number of side quests that I probably didn't do, but it felt like I completed, because the trophy list kind of requires that of you, all of the major faction quest lines. And what was amazing about it is none of the faction quest lines felt like traditional. Oh, this fits the Thieves Guild box. This fits the Fighters Guild. Like, they felt so weird and obscure and unique to this game. Like, there's so much I want to spoil and kind of dive into in terms of these quest lines, these major ones, but I don't want to spoil it. I think it's important to kind of leave that for people that find this game interesting and want to play it. The other thing I'll kind of talk about is the music. I think in Skyrim, it's Jeremy Soule has composed this brilliant score that's this timeless and very memorable for people that have played it. It perfectly kind of complements exploring that world. Definitely not as strong in Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon. You still have a lot of the more ambient, atmospheric type sounds as you're exploring the world. And then when you get into combat, that's, I think, where it shines the most. It's almost like this Witcher 3-esque Celtic horror. You have like heavy percussion, chanting voices in the background. Like, it's really weird. It's so different. I have really not heard anything like it. But very fitting for the game because it's very dark, melancholy. Again, it's been kind of plagued by this darkness, so it feels very fitting for the world you're exploring, for sure. Go ahead, Seth.
You were speaking about combat really quick. Can you, as in all Elder Scrolls games and Dark Souls games for that matter, can you just wipe out a town if you want to?
That's a really good question. You know, I did not even try to do that.
Doesn't have that dog in him.
I mean, most people don't. Most people don't. But I did wonder if there's some like invisible force field around certain characters.
There probably is, but to that end, you know, I played Avowed whenever that came out, like a year ago, and I really thought Avowed was going to check the Skyrim box for me. Like, I thought Obsidian, really strong studio when it comes to RPGs, loved the Outer Worlds. I thought Avowed was going to do it. One of the most disappointing things about Avowed was how lifeless the world seemed. You walked into a town and you could go into someone's house, loot everything, and they would basically, like a Walmart greeter, say, "Thank you, have a great day." And it's like, wait, what's going on here? And in this game, you can go into a town, steal from merchants, and it does alert the local authorities. Like, people come up to you in a very Skyrim Oblivion-like fashion and say, "Halt, like, we're going to take you to jail unless you pay a fine," type of thing. So in that sense, there's consequences. But yeah, you could probably take a sword to the local merchant's face, see what happens.
Gotcha.
But the last thing I'll kind of say, unless there are any other questions, is just in terms of just general pacing and not feeling like the game overstays its welcome or overwhelms with the amount of things to do. It's kind of split into 3 acts. So when you finish the first act, you then get transported to a completely different map. That map is shrouded in darkness, so in kind of a Breath of the Wild-like fashion, you clear the kind of the gray skies by continuing to explore the world. And I felt like just giving you almost like little pocketed chunks of a Skyrim map as opposed to just, hey, here's this massive world, go do what you want, gives you the freedom and flexibility to explore, while also kind of giving you some guardrails to like, hey, let's make sure we're continuing to progress the main story and the faction quest lines that are there along the way, right? So I think it does a really great job kind of balancing those two things, exploration, but giving you some guardrails as well.
Something I really liked, or that was something I really liked about the Outer Worlds when I played it, which not an indie game, but because that game is like planet-based exploration, you're getting what to me felt like digestible chunks of open world exploration where there's always going to be interesting landmarks, interesting places to explore, but I didn't find myself getting like the fatigue of being pulled in too many directions at once. So that actually is pretty intriguing to me that they split up the world in that way.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, it's important to acknowledge that this game does have some rough edges. Okay, I talked about all of the brilliant things about it, but it's important to also call out that it's not perfect, and they definitely didn't have the FromSoft or Bethesda bucks when it came to the polish and overly designing the game. But I actually think that adds to its charm. So like anytime you fast travel to a city, there's like 2 to 3 seconds where like every character is just in their underwear and like the storefronts haven't fully loaded, and then you just see like boom, 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 like everything just loads. Happens every single time, and I'm just like, I just sat there just eating popcorn, like this is amazing. Like I love this.
I can't play this game in front of my toddler now because
true.
We're having regular conversations about why we can't, at 3 years old, go outside naked. We need to put clothes on before we go outside. If he watches me play it, he's going to be like, see, the grown-ups are naked too when they're outside.
Yeah, so that's, honestly, I just think that adds to the charm tremendously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some uneven voice acting. The game did crash on me about 8 different times, so make sure that you're saving often in a Bethesda game fashion. It auto-saves, but you're going to make sure you have plenty of manual saves. It's also important, if you go into this game blind like I did, create manual saves before major story decisions, because there were times where I'm like, oh crap, I kind of don't want that to happen. Let's actually roll back the dice a little bit here and make a different decision. It's maybe against the rules for some RPG players, but for me, it's like I want things to unfold in a particular way, right? Yeah. So something to be mindful of as well. But overall, I went in with kind of relatively low expectations, especially since when I played it originally, brutally hard. It definitely felt like there were a lot more rough edges when it first launched. I came away, again, this definitely scratched the Skyrim itch. It's the closest I've come to feeling like I did when I originally played that game back in 2011. If you were a fan of first-person, open-world RPGs, this is an absolute must-play, in my opinion. But now we come to actually putting it in the quest log, and I just don't know how many levels of management Polymedia approval this needs to go through to put it on the main quest. So I'm a little weary. I'm a little weary of doing so.
We give you unlimited authority, buddy. You just make the call.
Here's the thing, right? When I read the main quest, it says you can recommend to anyone. And I feel like this still kind of fits a particular niche, but of that niche, it's done it the best I've probably ever seen in the indie realm. So
if it is the best indie game in a particular genre,
yeah, put your thumb on that scale, push it that direction.
You do what you want to do, but
yeah,
you sounded like you were going one direction, and now I feel like politically you're worried about going that direction, and I just want to free you from that burden. I'll accept whatever decision you make, follow your original heart's path or not, but do what you need to do.
All right. I'm not worried about the backlash. This is going right on the main quest. It has to.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Love to see it.
Has to.
Yeah. This game, to me, just looking at it, it just seems so ambitious. Like, if you just didn't tell me it was an indie studio and I saw a trailer, I'd be like, oh, what studio is working on this? This looks so cool. Like, it looks AAA. Like, it looks polished, It's very impressive that it's a smaller team.
Yeah.
When I first started looking at it, I had heard about this. You mentioned it, Josh, because of Briz, and now I remember it because of Briz.
Yeah.
But if I did not know anything about this game and I looked at screenshots, I'm like, did this game come on, was it around the launch of the PS4 or something like that? And it just flew under the radar? That is what it reminds me of. I mean, not in a bad way either. It doesn't have to be, and there are certainly parts of it that are very, very shiny.
Mm-hmm.
But it just has that sort of last gen
no doubt
thing, which is an indie game would.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Isn't that wild that you can say flew under the radar? And I feel that way when it has 20,000 reviews on Steam. I am so plugged in to gaming. I am probably too plugged in to gaming. And yet here is this game that has 20,000 positive reviews that I had never heard of before. Now I'm gonna partially attribute that to the choice of name. I do feel like Tainted, Grail, The Fall of Avalon feels to like it's a certain structure and type of name where I'm like, I can move right past it. Like I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just generic title words that don't really stick out to me. But yeah, just wild to me that there's always something new to discover like this.
Well, one final thing, I actually did forget something. So they did release DLC for this game earlier this year. It is essentially Pirates of the Caribbean 2 underwater pirate-themed RPG. Like, you literally get transported from the main world to an underwater realm, and you're, like, running around doing quests for, like, you know, captains of ships. You're fighting, like, men that look like swordfish, you know, sailors that had passed away that are skeletons now. If you want to just live out a pirate fantasy RPG, the DLC will definitely check the box.
Good enough.
Sounds like fans of Assassin's Creed Black Flag might like that too, eh, Rusty?
That's true. Yeah, and I want you to know that when Josh asked me to be on the show, I willingly put the controller down and paused my Black Flag playthrough for this show.
Wow. Wow.
That's a lot of sacrifice, man. We appreciate you.
I know.
One final thing before Josh goes with his game. And the only reason I think about this is because open world, right? Rusty, have you played Promise Mascot Agency?
I have not. No.
Dude,
You got to play this game.
you got to
should.
play this game.
You should.
gotta play this
Yeah,
game.
you should.
Yeah.
You should. As a fan of open world games, and it's shorter than the typical open world game, but maybe a good little baby game. to
It's
play.
like,
Yeah.
imagine, and it's just for a quick 1-minute pitch. It's an open world game that feels kind of like a collectathon, where you drive around rural Japan in a
Yeah.
K-truck and talk to a bunch of store mascots and develop persona style relationships with them. It is like,
Say less.
it is
Oh my
everything you
goodness.
love in a video game.
it is it checks all the boxes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'm on eBay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. My God.
Does it have a
yeah,
physical?
they
I don't
just
know.
it's either pre-order or just recently released from, I forget, Lost in Cult or something like that.
Oh dang! I need to get my hands on that.
Yep.
Gosh dang.
Yeah, and then all that whole genre mix is mashed up into like one of the most heartfelt stories you're ever gonna experience in a game.
Yeah,
too.
truly.
That's gonna just touch all the emotions and all the feels. So yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yes, he would.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, that's a tough act to follow there, but I did bring a game also. Hey guys, I actually brought an open world game. So
Two
but
in one episode.
It is.
Have you ever played Promise Mascot Agency?
Yeah, that's pretty good. This game is actually a 3D platformer as well, kind of. We'll get into it. It came out this year. The game I brought today is called Gecko Gods. Have you guys seen this game?
This is on my
yeah.
to playlist. It seems like something I'd be very into, and it's a 2026 game. So I'm really excited to hear you talk about this.
Okay, so Gecko Gods, you play as a little gecko in a open world puzzle exploration. Just a very stunning look to it. We'll start with the presentation here. It's a very beautiful, I guess cell shaded ish. It kind of reminds me of Sable a little bit, also with like that hand drawn like edges to all everything's a little soft, kind of pastel-y looking. It's a very gorgeous looking game. Soundtrack is excellent too. It kind of pairs with that very well. Lots of really good orchestration. It's going to fill you with wonder as you're playing the game because it just looks so good. So you get slapped into this world. It's kind of Wind Waker style with a bunch of little archipelagos to go explore. You play as a gecko that can crawl up any surface. You can crawl upside down. You can crawl up and down and around. The verbs of the game, I guess, would be climbing. You have a little dash that you have that's on, I think, on circle button on PlayStation. You can also jump decently around. You have a grab, and then you can also use that grab to do various things like drive a little ship around and to go to all these islands and to explore all these little nice nooks and crannies. So the basic premise is you're going around, you're solving these puzzles to open up doors to get to the center of this volcano. That's pretty much that's kind of like in the middle of the map, and you will be led to different areas. To generally, the look of each of the islands is you have like 3 main collectibles or 4 that you have to do, or 4 areas you have to go, and you solve that puzzle. It'll turn on a light, and you do that 4 times. That door will open, send a signal to the volcano area, and you're opening all the doors to open up that main final dungeon, basically, in the center of the map. The basic look of the game, the basic thing of the game is you're just exploring, you're solving puzzles, and you're cute as hell.
Yeah.
So, any comments so far? What do you guys think of this game? Have you heard anybody else talk about it? What are your thoughts so far?
So I don't want to impact your discussion of it. I don't want to impact your final take on it, anything like that. But I will say, generally, the conversation I've heard, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, other people that have talked to me about it have been somewhat critical, but it's the kind of game, I don't know if any of you ever experienced this, where people are like telling you this and that they don't like about it, or they bounced off for this or that reason, and there's just something in your chest that makes you say, I don't think I would feel that way, or like something about this game seems like it would work for me in spite of that, which is why I was so curious to hear you talk about it. I'm wondering what your experience was, what your caveats were, etc.
Okay, so I'm curious. Oh, sorry, Josh. Just super quick question. So the game looks amazing. Definitely my kind of game. Graphically, you said 3D platformer, exploration, lots to collect. Is there a lot of dialogue? Because I feel like a game like this, one of the biggest breaking points for me is, am I mashing through like tons and tons of text?
So I dislike that too. What was that game, Ruffy in the Riverside, Steve, that we played last year?
More
that
like
was just
Chatty in the Riverside, am I right?
Yeah.
Got him.
I don't want to disparage that game too much, but it's one of those things where it's not. If that's a 10, this is like a 2. There's like a little bit of chatting here and there to tell the story, and it is somewhat interesting. There's basically these gods to help. Basically, you have to open up all these doors to release these Gecko gods, the name of the thing, which are these kind of like statues that kind of rise up and kind of get glowy, and they're kind of like the gods of the world. So you have to kind of unseal these guys. And that's basically the whole story. Like, you're just unsealing these guys, and if you do, you win. So it's not like it's that deep of a story to where they're going to have to tell you 75 paragraphs of dialogue or anything. It's usually like 5 text boxes to kind of tell you where to go next. It'll do like a little camera zoom, like, hey, maybe go check out over here. There's something interesting on top of that hill. Okay, I'll go on top of that hill now. It's nothing to where you're going to be thumbing through 10 minutes of dialogue, thank God. So that's positive. Yeah.
Now, not to put our guest here on blast, but also I'm going to ask this question on behalf of Rusty. The other thing that can undo a collectathon platform, or a platformer in general, are the puzzles. All right, my guy does not want to do puzzles. You put a puzzle in front of him and he gets grouchy. So
brain breaks.
Yeah. How are we feeling about the density and difficulty of puzzles in Gecko Gods?
So I'm not like a puzzle savant. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm so good at puzzles. But I would say like I'm above average, and I say I didn't have too many issues. But it is a game full of puzzles. This is basically like Zelda Shrines of the game almost. I'll say, because each of these islands will have 4 different, like I said, 3 or 4 different areas with a puzzle to solve to open up that door. A lot of sliding block. Well, it's not a block. It's a sliding ball. You kick around. There are basically Prince of Persia mirrors. You're bouncing some lights around with mirrors, things like that. A lot of environmental puzzles in this game. I don't know if that's going to be your thing or not. It sounds like it's not really.
I heard him close the tab.
Listen.
Yeah.
My finger was hovering over the buy now button. I hit the wish list button instead. Okay, so we're still considering.
Okay.
We just haven't bought it yet.
No, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was this game was like catnip to me. Like, I really enjoyed it. So there's a lot of collectibles, which is something you'll like. I will say the game plays great. you would think that you're a gecko climbing on everything. You're just going to get stuck on geometry all the time. The camera's going to swoop and it's going to act weird. That still happens. It's a 3D platformer. There's going to be times where you get stuck in just the corner of the geometry because you accidentally climbed underneath something that you probably weren't supposed to because your character's so tiny in this giant world. It's going to happen, but it's not going to be game breaking. It's not going to just ruin the experience. To me, I kind of expect that from this style of game. So that's something that if it really annoys people, hey, it happens here a couple times. It's not going to be the end of the world. But you're climbing around. I just think if it plays good, it's just fun to play. It's very, it just has a really good snappy feel to it. You walk just fast enough to where it's like, yeah, I don't mind walking across the island. It doesn't take that long, you know what I mean? Because that would be another thing that I would be worried about, right?
Yeah, that was my other question is, you're this tiny little gecko, and a lot of the environments in this trailer are like big temples and like whole desert cities and stuff. So you're saying that you do feel like you move through it pretty quick or pretty snappy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so to beat the full game, it took me about 5 hours for everything. And then to do some cleanup for collectibles, maybe like I still want to go back and do that. I think it's going to take me like another hour to do. It's not that big of a game. It's not going to be the biggest investment. This is a weekend 3D platformer more than a long-term one. So
say less, but
very good. Yeah. So the collectibles in the game, I did want to dive into that a little bit. There are a bunch of little bugs around the map. So each area will have a collection of like 6 to 10 bugs that you have to eat. And that's one of the main collectibles. You'll just kind of find them around. It kind of... I felt like I naturally got most of them, if not all of them, just playing the game and going through the puzzles. You'll just see them around. It's like, oh, wait, I haven't seen that praying mantis before. You go up, you press the interact button, you eat them, and then you just move on, and there's one collectible. Done. Cool. Keep on going. And then there's also these like relics that you can find. They're basically gold statues in the shape of different animals, like, elephants or giraffes or whatever. And you will usually find a little puzzle room for those as well. It'll be like, hey, this thing has a wire that's kind of going around a bunch of times. Maybe go find where that wire goes, solve the little 2-minute puzzle, and then you get that relic. Things like that. So another collectible, I think the third and last collectible is you can design your little gecko guy to have little different patterns and colors and things like that. And then the way to purchase those is there's like these like kind of like galaxy looking mirrors that you stand on to do like your cart and kind of decorate your guy. You get currency in jugs that are around that you can smash, doing like kind of like a Spyro head bash on all these pots, and collect all the currency. Buy cute little things, make your dude little red polka dots or green and yellow polka dot or green and yellow with stripes, or whatever. Make them look cute and customize as you go. And there's a bunch of options for that, probably over 100 altogether with the different combos. So make your own special little dude and go solve these puzzles. This game is just cozy as hell too. I just really think it's fun to just be in this world. It's beautiful. It's a really good relaxing game. Like I felt like every time I booted this up, I was looking forward to playing it because I knew it was going to be relaxing. Okay. So jumping in, climbing around, it's like, okay, well, I know I got to go to the desert temple now to do these puzzles. So I jump in the little boat, you go across the water, the music kicks in, it swells amazing song, the best song you've ever heard. The graphics are just stunning. You're just this cute little dude on an adventure, and it just feels so good to play. So the vibes are here for this game, 100%.
Dude, love it.
Speaking of vibes, amazing water,
yes, amazing
sunsets.
Yep,
and that's just vibes, capital vibes right there.
Yeah. So this game is it's special. I really think it has just a little bit of special sauce to it, to where it's like it kind of really stood out to me because it's really easy for these type of games to just be like, oh yeah, it's just another one of these. It's just another one to throw on the pile. This one has just a little bit of special character. It has that cozy, just feel to it. Like, it's just fun to be in the world. It feels good to be in the world. It's adorable too. It's just gonna give you all the warm and fuzzies. The puzzles are not that challenging. I don't mind looking up little hints if I get stuck on puzzles. I didn't have to look up a single hint for this game. So to me, that's signifying probably like baseline average puzzle difficulty. The later one, the last zone, the volcano thing, has a little bit of difficulty curve, but it's not so much that you're going to get angry about it. There's combat in the game too, but you don't ever die. Like, you just get like hit. He's like, ow. He makes an ow noise, and like you can kill the little mobs that are annoying you, and you never really die in the game. There's no like penalty to screwing up jumps. If you fall in lava, you just like he just like goes ow, 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 ow until he's out of the lava, and then you go and you continue on your merry way. You know, it's a very low friction game. I'll say that much as well.
Not a bad thing necessarily, as long as the rest of the game is engaging. So that's cool.
Yeah, the main thrust of the game is just doing the puzzles that, like I said, they range from the mirror. So the desert one, I think it's the desert one. Yeah, the desert one's basically this giant mirror puzzle. You do each section of it, like a chunk of it, and then the light will start going to another area. You just follow it over there, and you just kind of like bounce that light all the way across that entire that landmass. It's really satisfying. It does satisfy that checking box feel too for open world, but a very small, contained version of that. But yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about this game. I just had a great experience playing this. This is one that my partner was like, you need to get to that game. You're going to love it. Just play it, download it and play it. You're going to love it. And I did when I finally sat down this a couple days ago and just binged through it in a day and a half. It was a good time. So any questions about Gecko Gods before I put it on the quest log today?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, so this one is, at first when I first started it, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be like a nice cozy side quest. But the more I like dived in and kind of was in that world and just got that cozy feeling, got all the warm and fuzzies, this is a main quest to me with a bullet. It might not hit some others as hard as it hit me. I just thought it was just a really special little game. It's probably going to make like a top 10 or something this year. I really, really liked it. It's going to be a competitive year. It always is. So we'll see. But right now it's on there. But I'm trying to think of like what would be the main friction points for some people. I could see people not liking the fact that when you climb upside down, like he's less sticky, but that's just how gravity works. So sometimes you just fall, like it's going to happen. Like you said, Steve, there's going to be little things that people will probably complain about for the game, but it didn't bother me at all. Like, I just had a really good time and a really good experience,
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd heard, I'm kind of putting words into a straw man's mouth here, but I've heard people say maybe that there was a little bit of bugginess to it, but also that they found it just a little bit slow, or whether that means like literally slow to move around the world or like slow to ramp into what they felt like was fun gameplay. That's what I've heard, and the reason that doesn't always bother me is that I have a pretty high tolerance for just like a chill out game, for like just a cozy, vibing. Just the idea of like crawling around on the rocks as a lizard is pretty strong. Now you can go too far into the chill category. You can become like Hoa, where like your puzzles are basically non-existent and I'm falling asleep despite the fact that your game is beautiful. But usually I'm okay just kind of hanging out for exactly this length of time, 4 or 5 hours, and just chilling. So I did think I would probably like it.
Yeah, you would like it. Honestly, the rest of you'd probably enjoy it too. But I didn't know your hangups about puzzles, but I still think you would enjoy it. It's just a nice cozy time. I think people go into a game like this expecting like a ukulele or something where you're like collecting and you're jumping around. It's instant action, instant joy, instant satisfying feel. I will say this is a different like just rhythm. It's like, okay, just kind of chill out, kind of crawl around. Oh, I got to go over there. All right, I'm gonna just hang out. The music is going. You see the winds blowing through all this forestry. It looks so beautiful. The music's swelling. You go over you crest the ridge. You see like this temple. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go in that temple. I'm gonna solve that puzzle. It's gonna be I'm gonna make that puzzle my bitch, and we're gonna go to the next area, and it's gonna be a good time. So it's very much one of those type of games. Yeah.
Now, I know you had to extend an olive branch there for our friend Rusty, and I love this game, so I say this lovingly. But I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are playing a game and thinking this better live up to the high bar that Yooka-Laylee set. Okay, people are not saying if this better be a ukulele or better. Okay, that is not a threshold many people have.
That is the bar I set for every game I play, Steve.
Yeah.
First of all, how dare you?
Me too, but I have a reputation for rooting around in the trash, so.
Okay,
They're coming at it from a different angle.
No, when Rusty was ramping up for his game, and he's like, so it is a small studio, guys. And I was expecting you'd be like, oh yeah, it's Yooka-Laylee. I'm like, okay. And then you gave us the curveball with the RPG. I appreciated that. I was just expecting that with your build-up, which you probably did on purpose, but that's okay. Anyway, we have a pretty good I think this is a pretty good like mix of genres. I think we've tended to do this lately, but we got 4 games brought to the quest log today. Mm-hmm. Got One Turn Kill, which was a main quest card building game. Got Birdsong, which is just a weird and cool little indie game that Steve found as a side quest. We got Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, which is the second coming of Skyrim. That's a direct quote from Rusty. Main quest. And then we got Gecko Gods, which is just a nice cozy platformer as a main quest as well. Yeah, those are some fun video games. People are going to have
beautiful
fun with those.
Can't argue with those results.
Mm-mm.
All right, so we did have a campfire chat today. This is actually based on a game that Seth brought. So, Seth, do you want to read that for us?
Yeah, sure. All right, so they say, this is Tyler of Muda Games. Thank you so much for talking about our game. As a 2-person team, it truly does mean a lot. I do also apologize about performance issues, LMAO. We've really pushed RenP to its limits. So now I'm trying to see if we can ever port it to Unity in the future with some more interactivity since it's so heavy on animations and such. Regardless, thank you so much again, and I truly hope you enjoyed the game. And Tyler, again, from Muda Games, is they are the ones who made Lap of the Gods, which is the visual novel that I brought a few episodes ago. And honestly, getting something like this just makes it feel like we're doing stuff out here, boys.
Yeah.
Like devs are hearing. Who knows how Tyler heard that episode? I mean, through the grapevine, I suppose. But it feels good. It feels cool that devs are listening to the things that we're putting out. And yeah, that was a great game. I hope a lot of people experience it.
And I had never heard of RenP before this, so I looked it up. It's like a visual novel creator, like an engine designed specifically for visual novels. So sort of like the RPG Maker, but for the visual novel world. And I will say, I say this with no knowledge of the visual novel world, so this could be 100% me just blowing smoke. But games made in like RPG Maker sometimes have like a certain feel and look to them where you're like, that looks like an RPG Maker game. If that also is true of visual novel games, that they have like a sort of templatized engine-based feel to them, certainly Lap of the Gods didn't look like it was strictly holding to any standards. That game was wild looking. So I would believe you that you're pushing it to the absolute limits of the engine there.
The absolute, yeah, because I mentioned in that review proper that they literally put like television animation in the background. Like they pushed that all the way to the edge and probably further, which is why it was a little choppy sometimes, but still great, looked great. So,
all right, awesome. Yeah, the art style really sticks out for that game. Every time we get a developer like just reaching out to us, it just makes my heart a little bit more full. My heart grows another size. You know, it's eventually going to explode out of my chest, but you know, we got some time.
Nothing to do with energy drinks, I'm sure, Josh.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's only 200 milligrams of caffeine. It should be okay. At 5 p.m. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. Rusty, why don't you plug everything you do on the interwebs?
Yeah, so once again, I said at the top, but on YouTube, RE-LOOIE, going to be on, I wouldn't say a hiatus here, but the next couple of weeks and months, my wife and I are expecting our second child, so the energy for making videos is going to go down a little bit, but I do have a couple kind of staged and ready to go. So I have a PS3 collection video, which I think is very timely given all of the physical media nonsense that's going on with Sony right now. So stay tuned for that. I have a video. I haven't done many trophy collecting videos this year, but I'll have one coming out talking about 10 short and easy indie 3D platformers that are very trophy friendly, so stay tuned for that. And then one other that's in the pipeline is kind of showcasing my video game vinyl collection. I'm a very big vinyl person. I have quite a sizable video game vinyl collection, so looking forward to kind of showcasing that and talking through some great video game music.
Heck yeah. All right, well, you can find IndieQuest on Blue Sky at IndieQuestPod. You can send us emails, IndieQuestPod@gmail.com, or you can be like the dev did and send us a fan mail over here on the description. Just click fan mail, and you can send us a text like that. We've had only one person do it, but you can also leave an audio comment, which is kind of cool. So if you want to do that, and of course, you be nice, but that goes without saying. But as long as you're nice, you leave a cool comment. We'll highlight those on the Campfire Chat segment. And also, I wanted to mention, before I throw it to Steve, is that Steve and I both were on Drunk Friend recently and interviewed the Mina the Hollower dev, which was really cool and special.
Yeah, we got to talk all about Mina the Hollower with one of the directors of the game, Sean Velasco, I believe. Is that
Sean Velasco. I was like, it's Sean V. I was like, what's that last name? I didn't want to misspeak there. Yep.
And he was cool. He told a lot of fun stories about the development and, the considerations that they have to make for a game of that scale. And I even snuck in a little bit of trophy discussion in there because I couldn't help myself. So, yeah, if you want to hear most of IndieQuest, it's missing the best part of IndieQuest, which is when Rusty's a guest, and the second best part, which is Seth. But if you want to hear the bottom half of IndieQuest, head over to the Drunk Friend feed and hear us chat up Mina the Hollower.
Yeah, that was so cool. I just Alex reaching out, it's like, hey, you guys want to be? And Trav and Alex were like, hey, you want to be on this? I'm like, yeah, I'll set this one out if there's not that much room. And Trav's like, no, come on in. Let's come on in and ask some questions. Don't be shy. I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. So it was cool. All right, awesome. Well, Steve, where can they find you on the internet?
Blue Sky and Twitch. Honestly, Twitch is the best way to talk to me at this point. I don't use Blue Sky so much anymore. Just trying to cut back on the social media use. But I am out there, and if you spam me with enough messages, I'll probably respond to you. But it's Blinkoom at all those places. What about you, Seth?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Captain Drachma, and of course in the Polymedia Discord. Best place on the internet. And if you want to get in the Discord, head over to Patreon, search up Polymedia, jump it in the tier that gets you in the Discord, come and chat with unfortunately only the three main hosts because Rusty is somehow not in there yet.
I know, I need to change that.
Would make it a better place.
We'll get him in there.
You do need to change it. Josh, where can I find you?
You can find me at Josh Leslie on Blue Sky. In my other podcast, The Monthly Mishap, we did an episode about video. We talked about video games on that podcast, which was fun. We talked about Friend Slop games, and then we talked about Ghost in the Shell 2026, and a bunch of other stuff. So good times over there. Check it out. Steve's just shaking his head like,
Are we not enough for you? Are we not enough for you?
Well, Friendsoft games are pretty fun. Maybe I'll bring one to IndieQuest at some point. You never know.
We do need more on the Quest side, actually. A little bit of an underserved genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that will do it for our show today. Of course, check out Polymedia Network to hear more awesome shows like Drunk Friend. And then, why don't we have Rusty close us out with some good parting words for the folks out there?
Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me back on the show. It's been a while since I've been on kind of a longer form podcast discussion-oriented thing. So it was always fun hopping behind the mics and talking good games. it's good to know that 5 years later since we originally talked, there's still really great indie developed games releasing. So really happy to hear that. So great to be behind the mics with you guys talking today. Keep playing great games. Stay healthy. Go on a walk. Drink your fluids. And we'll see you all on the next episode of the IndieQuest podcast.
Josh, that doesn't mean energy drinks.
Yeah.
I need another one. All right. So no, I don't. I slow play it at least. I slow play it anyway.